Gemini, May will bring the answer you've been waiting for. You won't believe it. Gemini, have you noticed it too? That quiet shift in the air. That subtle yet undeniable sense that something is coming. Something you've been asking for in silence, hoping for in scattered thoughts, praying for when no one was watching. But what if I told you the answer is not only on its way, it's already begun? This May isn't just another page on your calendar. It's a portal, a cosmic corridor designed specifically for you. And the moment you step through, everything will begin to make sense in a way it never has before. You see, Gemini, your soul has never been content with shallow answers or surface truths. You're wired to question, to search, to stretch your perception beyond what others accept. But lately, even you have felt the weight of not knowing, the quiet disillusionment, the restless ache for a sign, and the nagging doubt. Was it all for nothing? I'm here to tell you, no. Not only was it not for nothing, it was necessary. The stillness? It was preparation. The silence? It was a setup. The delay? It was divine. Welcome, love, to Esoteric Wisdom. I'm Elizabeth, your guide, your mirror, and your companion on this sacred path of remembrance. If this resonates, let your soul speak, like, comment, subscribe. Let this space be your sanctuary of insight. Because this May, Gemini, you are not just receiving answers. You're receiving a new direction, a new rhythm, a new layer of yourself that has been waiting quietly beneath the noise. Are you listening? Chapter 1, The Silent Preparation, Gemini and the Echo of the Unspoken. Gemini, before the answer arrives, the universe goes silent. You, of all signs, know the unbearable tension of waiting. Your mind races ahead, scripting outcomes, scanning for clues, reaching for something, anything, to fill the blank space between questions and clarity. But this time, the space stayed empty. The silence lingered. The old distractions stopped working. And that was not a punishment. It was preparation. Because before the truth arrives in full, your soul must be still enough to recognize it, not through noise or logic, but through a resonance that moves through your chest like a bell rung in another dimension. And Gemini, that resonance is beginning. The month of May is not bringing you an ordinary answer. It's bringing you the one you've secretly been afraid to ask for. The one tied to your purpose, your healing, your next evolution. But to receive it, you first had to be emptied. Stripped of the patterns, people, and beliefs that distracted you from hearing what your own inner twin was trying to say all along. Let me tell you about Elise, a Gemini healer, who came to me during a similar energetic window. For months, she felt disconnected from her art, from her intuition, even from her voice. It's like I know something big is about to change, she whispered, but nothing's moving. I told her, the answer is already forming. But you're not meant to chase it. You're meant to become still enough for it to land inside you. So she did. She turned down the volume on outside opinions, took long walks without podcasts, journaled not to explain, but to listen. And one morning in May, the answer came. Not as fireworks or fanfare, but as a knowing so pure, so peaceful, she burst into tears. It wasn't new, it was ancient. A truth that had always lived inside her. Finally revealed. Gemini, this is exactly what you are being called into now. The portal of May is not a calendar date. It's a frequency. A shift. A moment when what was hidden begins to hum with visibility. Expect the unexpected. But more than that, expect the familiar to transform, because the answer may not look like what you asked for. It may come through a dream, a slip of conversation, a sign in the sky, or a memory that suddenly makes sense after years of silence. But it will come. The stillness you've endured wasn't a void. It was a sacred tuning, a frequency reset. And now that you're aligned, mind, body, soul, you're finally ready not just to receive, but to understand. So I ask you, Gemini, what if the delay wasn't denial, but design? What if the answer was too big for the old version of you to carry? And what if now, finally, you're ready to hold it? Because you are. Chapter 2, Mercury's Mirror. The messenger returns to you. Gemini, your ruling planet is not just Mercury the messenger. He is the shapeshifter, the trickster, the traveler between worlds. And this May, he isn't bringing you answers from the outside. He's holding up a mirror to your soul. You've looked for signs in the stars, in others' words, in external guidance, but Mercury is whispering now. What if the answer you seek has been echoing in your own voice all along? This is the month when your natural brilliance, your gift for observation, reflection, and synthesis, doesn't just serve others. It comes home. The insights you've shared with friends, the advice you've given that made others pause in reverence, the clarity that flows so effortlessly through you for them. Mercury is turning that same light toward you. But here's the challenge. When Mercury becomes your mirror, he doesn't show you the version of yourself you perform for the world. He shows you the one you've outgrown, the twin self that no longer fits, the patterns you once needed for survival, but now only hold you back from becoming. This is why May feels strange, even emotional. The old mask starts to itch. Your usual routines feel stale. Conversations that used to feel lively now feel hollow.
Why?
Because you've shifted dimensions, Gemini. And the version of you that's emerging doesn't need validation. She needs truth. Let me share about Jonah, a Gemini teacher who spent years being everyone's guide, everyone's go-to for clarity. But in private, he felt more like a channel than a human. I don't know who I am without giving, he confessed to me. I'm afraid to listen to myself. I looked at him and asked, what if Mercury gave you the gift of language, not to teach others, but to finally speak to yourself in a voice that heals? Jonah began a radical practice that month, speaking his truths out loud to himself, in the mirror, in the shower, on walks, not rehearsed, not curated, just raw, holy honesty. And what he heard shocked him. Compassion, not criticism. Wisdom, not worry. Gemini, this is your Mercury mirror moment. You are not here to echo others. You are here to reveal. You are not here to juggle endless options. You are here to choose from deep knowing. And Mercury, in his sacred mischief, will now test your clarity. He'll show you two doors that look identical, but only one leads to soul. He'll bring back a familiar person, a past version of you, a situation that once held power, and ask, are you still the same? Not as punishment, as initiation. Because the Gemini who emerges from May is no longer fragmented, no longer afraid of silence, no longer addicted to stimulation or applause. This version of you is attuned,
Alive.
rooted, a clear channel between heaven and earth. So here is your question now. If your words created reality, what would you speak into existence today? If Mercury's messages are being etched into your very thoughts, what frequency will you allow to broadcast through your mind? You are no longer just the messenger. You are the message. And Maya is your moment to deliver it. Chapter 3, Signs, Synchronicities, and the Language of the Invisible. Gemini, this is not a month of ordinary messages. This is the month when the universe begins to speak your native tongue, not through textbooks or timelines, but through patterns, coincidences, and whispers only your soul can hear. You've always been attuned to connections others overlook. The way someone says your name, the shape of a cloud, the rhythm between two events that shouldn't be related but are. You don't just think, you translate. And this May, your translation skill becomes something deeper, something sacred. Because the answer you've been waiting for, it won't arrive through logic. It will come through synchronicity, a dream that repeats itself, a phrase you hear 3 times in one day, a book that falls open to the exact paragraph you didn't know you needed. Gemini, these aren't coincidences. They're constellations. They're how the universe threads meaning into your reality. And this month, those threads are lighting up like constellations across your sky. Let me tell you about Nia, a Gemini intuitive who was at a crossroads. She couldn't decide whether to leave her job and start a healing practice. Every pro/con list failed her. But one night, she dreamt of a blue butterfly. The next day, she saw the same butterfly printed on a stranger's shirt. That evening, a podcast mentioned the butterfly effect, how small actions lead to massive change. It was enough. Nia trusted the signs. And the moment she said yes to her new path, everything accelerated, clients, clarity, even unexpected financial support. Gemini, your gift is not just noticing these things, it's believing them before anyone else does. The challenge now is not to look for bigger signs. It's to listen more deeply to the ones already around you. Because May is alive with messages, but they will pass you by if you're too busy doubting your own sensitivity. Mercury, your guide, is moving through hidden realms now. He's not delivering emails, he's delivering intuitive downloads. The kind that arrive in goosebumps, heart flutters, or a sudden knowing you can't explain. Your body is the receiver. Your dreams are the messenger. Your emotions are the compass. But beware, with this gift comes temptation to dismiss, to overanalyze, to run the signs through 5 filters before trusting them. Gemini, stop asking for permission to believe what your soul already knows. Ask yourself, what patterns keep showing up no matter how I try to ignore them? What truth do I already feel but haven't dared to act on? What message am I pretending to be confused by just because it would require change? The time for pretending is over. This month, you're not being asked to follow a map. You're being asked to follow magic. To trust the invisible as fully as the tangible. To realize that every coincidence is the universe winking at you, saying, yes, you're on the right path. Keep going. You are not lost, Gemini. You are being guided. And when the signs become too clear to deny, your only task will be to say yes. Chapter 4. You are the answer. When the seeker becomes the truth. Gemini, how long have you been waiting for the sign? The one that would explain everything. The delay, the disconnection, the doubt. You searched with your eyes wide open, tuned to every coincidence, every sudden insight, every whisper in your dreams. But now, something deeper is happening. The questions are fading, not because the answers arrived in words, but because you are beginning to sense that the answer has always been you. This month, you are not just receiving guidance, you are becoming it. The seeker within you is quieting. The inner split that once left you chasing clarity from the outside is being stitched back together by something ancient, something real. May is not the end of your journey. It is the moment when your soul stops asking and starts remembering. You see, Gemini, there was never anything wrong with your restlessness. It wasn't confusion. It was a sacred longing to return to wholeness. You've never been fragmented. You've only ever been expansive. Your questions were not signs of being lost. They were invitations into greater self-awareness. And now, the invitation is being answered not with a revelation, but with an embodiment. Let me tell you about Rosa, a Gemini artist who once described herself as scattered, indecisive, and constantly searching. One day, without reason, she stopped moving. She stopped asking. She sat beneath a tree and simply breathed. No phone, no plan, no need to figure anything out. In that stillness, she realized she didn't want an answer anymore. She wanted to feel alive. In that moment, she remembered who she was, not because something told her, but because there was finally enough silence for her own voice to echo back. This is what May is offering you now. Not the loud thrill of sudden clarity, but the quiet realization that you no longer need to perform, please, or prove anything. Your purpose is not a task. Your value is not a role. Your wisdom is not a list of facts. It's a vibration that rises naturally when you are fully present with yourself. The same duality that once pulled you in opposing directions is now becoming the source of your inner harmony. You can hold 2 truths at once. You can shift and still be rooted. You can ask and still know. There is no contradiction in your complexity. There is only depth. And now the question becomes, if you trusted that the answer is no longer coming because it is already here, embodied in your voice, your choices, your presence, what would you stop chasing? What version of you would you finally allow to live freely? What would happen if you decided, from this moment forward, to stop being in transition and start being home? Gemini, you are not the question. You are the response. You are not waiting for the light. You are the one carrying it. Let the world recalibrate around you. Let the noise fall away. Let May be the month you meet yourself again, not as an idea, but as a truth. You are not on the verge of becoming. You already are. Conclusion, Gemini. You were the message all along. Gemini, take a breath. Not the kind you take when you're racing toward the next thing, but the kind you take when you've just remembered who you are. This journey didn't give you one simple answer. It gave you back your reflection.
Clearer. Deeper.
Unapologetically whole. For weeks, for months, maybe even for years, you searched the sky, the signs, the stories, asking when your moment would come. But this May, you didn't just stumble upon the moment. You became it. You've remembered that your questions were never problems to solve. They were sacred keys unlocking each layer of your becoming. Your duality is no longer something to manage. It's the very proof that you are vast enough to hold complexity with grace. Your voice is no longer a tool to be clever. It's a healing frequency. Your mind no longer needs to run from stillness, because in stillness, your wisdom echoes louder than any noise ever could. This month, Gemini, you are not receiving a revelation. You are the revelation. The answer you waited for is the version of you that finally stopped hiding. The part of you that trusts your own rhythm, honors your own knowing, and no longer waits for permission to feel complete. So here, at the end of this chapter and the beginning of a new one, I ask you, if you no longer needed to search, what would you finally create? If you fully believed you were chosen for this moment in time, what part of you would you stop silencing? Gemini, your light doesn't come with noise. It comes with presence. You don't have to prove anything to shine. Just be who you are in your fullness, in your quiet power, in your magnetic movement between worlds. You were not made to choose one path. You were made to walk all of them and show others the way through. If this journey reflected something sacred within you, let your presence ripple outward. Leave a comment, share your voice, subscribe to Esoteric Wisdom, and continue walking with us. This is just the beginning. Your story is unfolding in divine timing. And now I ask you, not as a teacher, but as a mirror, what would your life look like if you stopped asking whether the answer was coming and started living as if it already had? Because it has.
You have.
Welcome home, Gemini.